Wonderful. Today, I have a day off. Actually, we have the joy and the privilege and the pleasure of hearing the wonderful consciousness of Dr. Clancy Blakemore, who has been my right hand, I don't want to say man, my right hand woman, faithfully for 10 years. She has been a wonderful support to this ministry. She's a brilliant teacher, and we have the privilege of hearing her speak today. So please help me welcome Dr. Clancy Blakemore.
Well, you look fairly cool. We are affirming. I'm cool, I'm calm, I'm collected. Ernest Holmes, I understand, began his radio show every week saying, "There is a power for good in the universe, and you can use it," or something like that.
Amen.
Yes. The power. Think of that. That is the principle. Nothing can happen to the principle. It just always is. We can use it all the time. And I love to add on. Later, I understand, he said, I wish I had put more attention on love in my teachings. But there's a presence for good, for guidance, for support. And we can use it. It is within us, and we are within it. What an awesome foundation for us to have. Ernest Holmes used many of the connectors of and it's all through the Bible too. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. That's the core, isn't it? Love, that's the presence. And it is done unto you, and it is done unto you as you believe. That's a core, foundation. That's the principle. What we're believing, as we believe, not as we're wishing and hoping, but as we believe. There's a huge connector of and. And is the empowering, the connector. It's an attitude, and is an attitude of gratitude and limitless potentiality, possibilities. Those two foundation points. Sometimes we get stuck with our butts. A minister I knew early when I was in the 1980s, Don McCart, he had been a stand-up comedian, so if you heard a question and answer period with Don McCart and another minister, it was hilarious. Very core foundation, science of mind, but the way he put it. And he wrote a book that was entitled The Mental Makeover, Kick Your Butts Goodbye. And he went on to, every chapter was, I'm going to give you a few samplers here. I want to, but nothing seems to change. I want to, but other do it better than I do. I don't see how I can do it. I'm afraid, but this is worse than X, Y, and Z, but I can't get going, but I have too many things to do, but I don't have enough. You've heard it, right? But of course, we haven't said it ever. Never. I want to, but I'm too busy, I'm too sick, I'm too tired, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm a woman, I'm a man. I remember I have this feeling memory that when I was a child in this little tiny church in this little tiny town of 250 people, we had equal opportunity. We had a Baptist church, 3 residences from this direction where I was living, and a Wesleyan Methodist, which is very foundational if you're not aware of it, very conservative, 3 this way. And I have this feeling in that little church, I wish I could be up there. But women can't do that. But I could be a missionary's wife, said I in my innocence. Until I got a little mature and I thought, no way. But I still thought I couldn't be a minister until in the 1980s I saw this beautiful 6'2" woman minister who was a powerhouse and who stuttered slightly but could deliver a message with humor and content and inspiration and joy and love and just strike you right there. I thought, wow, I'm a woman and I could open new doors. So I invite us this morning to take a look at all the ways that we can be more inclusive in our life, to have greater joy, greater beauty. In Romans it says, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." I renew my subscriptions every year to some good magazines. I say, yes, I want to continue to do that. I want to continue to have a new perspective. And that's, I think, basically what it's saying. Ernest said, change your thinking and change your life. Well, having been a teacher, I got it a little different perspective, and some of you who've been in the classes with me have understood that I say, well, before I can change my thinking, I have to step over here and say, I'm willing to open myself to a new idea. I can't even change my thinking until I get a new idea about it, a new perspective about it, and open up to that. Then I can change my thinking, and then I can change my choices, and then I can change the results. So it's not just like changing our clothes, but it's really that transformation that was being talked about. So we have an opportunity to rethink, to re-choose, and say, what is working in my life, and so I want to continue it, and what might I like to have different in my life? How might it be different? So I got up this morning and I said, I'm going to service this morning. Reverend Kathleen would be really surprised if I didn't show up, and I expect that it's going to be very hot. I didn't say, but it's too hot. I would guess I won't go. And as we walk through life, step by step by step, we don't have a path. There's no path until we walk it. So as we're walking, opening to new possibilities, new ways of thinking about things, new perspectives, and opening to changing our thinking about how it may have been. And believe me, it doesn't matter how long we've been in the study. Some of us have been in it a long time. We still get to do it. There's still the walk. There's still the practice. There's still the, regardless of the appearance, I remember all there is God. We live in Three Rivers. Some of you are aware. Some gang people were at the beach. Some other gang showed up and said, this is my opportunity. 2 people were killed. 2 people were wounded. The perpetrators were taken into custody. Our little quiet town of Three Rivers. And then yesterday, or the night before, Friday night, somebody stole a big truck, decided they would push over the ATM machine with the big truck. It didn't work. And in going around behind the bank, they got the truck stuck. Yeah. So it's like, okay, here's the appearance, here's the data. It happens all the time. Now I know where to put some more prayer work. And ultimately, there's a truth. And ultimately, Three Rivers is filled with people that are joyous and peaceful. And each one of those people who were involved in these events, I said, was there a full moon? I think it was a couple days before that. But sometimes people go off the track. They forget that they're divine expressions of spirit. And we keep getting to remind ourselves that we are expressions of peace. Being peace, then we are rippling it out. The ands do not have to take us off course. They won't take us off course. So I know that some of you are saying, yeah, Clancy, I know all that. I hear it every Sunday. I hear it in classes. But I get off course. How can I remember? Well, you also know our songs can get us back on course. Our chants, our affirmations of gratitude, our affirmations in our readings and our meditations, and our prayer work, and our practitioners and our ministers who are present, and our people who are learning to be practitioners who are present, help us to continue to come back to the and to our greater potential. But I'm going to be real specific. I'm a practical person. So I want to tell you a story. Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom, there was a very wise king, and he was gone for the day, out on a journey. And while he was gone, his guards were there, and a demon came in, and he was so ugly and stinky and awful acting, he just froze the guards in their track, and he marched into the throne room and sat down in the king's throne. And when the guards came to themselves, they started, "You can't be there, you get out of there." And the more that they ranted and raved and told them how awful he was, the bigger he got. And they got more and more fearful, and of course the demon got bigger and bigger and bigger and more stinky and just awful. I mean, he was saying terrible things. Just going on, and everything that the demon said, it made the guards more angry and more upset, and they were brandishing their swords and their weapons around, and he just got worse and worse. You can imagine what a situation it was. And the wise king came back, took in the situation, and because he was a wise king, he said, "Why, Mr. Demon, hasn't anyone offered you a cup of tea?" And the guards woke up. They came to themselves and said, "Oh, can we get you some tea? We have black tea, green tea, chamomile, darling. We have all kinds of good teas. What can we get you?" Oh, and another guard said, "I'll run out and get pizza." So he went out to order pizza. You know, we suspend all time and suspicion here. And and let me massage your feet. And every kindness began to shrink the demon. Oh, he said, that feels really good. Another guard came around and massaged his scales around his neck, and he got smaller and smaller. And before the pizza even arrived, he was so small that he could not even be seen. Now, isn't that a nice story? It's just pretend, right? And I have to say that I've had a few demons in my life. I won't ask for a show of hands. Because we've come a certain number of years, I'm assuming that most of us in this room have had a demon or two. And they may have taken a shape of a man, a woman, a child, an in-law, an adult, older parent, somebody else that came up in our face. And we had the opportunity to see the demon get bigger and bigger and bigger, or get smaller and disappear. When I was in Huntington Beach and a new minister, there was a lady who was severely involved with her emotional situation. And she was just a lovely, lovely lady. And then it was like Jekyll and Hyde, and she wasn't. But I had become a person of support for her. And then I wasn't able to be a person of support for her anymore because I wasn't able to support her, not financially, but emotionally and spiritually. That lady showed up everywhere I went. I could go to a morning prayer breakfast. There are 400 people there. I sit down at a table and she's sitting there facing me. I could go to another city and there she would be somewhere. She wasn't a huge, smelly demon, but she was always there until I woke up, was renewing my mind, and remembered who she was as a divine expression of spirit. Put down all my resistance. Just every time I saw her, just love her, love her, love her. And within a very short time, I never saw her again. Literally never saw. I still moved in I still did the same thing. I still went the same places. I changed nothing. And she just disappeared. And I guess she truly was complete with that expression, because once I mentioned it to somebody and they said, I heard that on a very dark, rainy night, she stepped out in front of a truck in Newport Beach. Just stepped out and stepped over. But my demon for a moment was not just that lady, but some of the other things. So I just invite you to notice, can we create the and this temporarily appearing demon is an expression of spirit. How am I willing to see the love within me and the love within them, the peace that is within me, the peace that is with them, as a whole being of spirit? What about our health and well-being? I love the writings of Dr. Margaret Stortz. Those of you who read Science of Mind magazine, she writes regularly for them. She also has a new book. I'll give her a little boost. It's called Essays on Everything. And it's a delight. I was reading it the other day. She made a whole point about being older or being old. They don't have to go together. Older, of course, is what happens to us every day in our physical bodies, right? All of us are getting older. Thank goodness we're getting older. We haven't set this one aside yet, because we can all be here together to celebrate life. But the getting old is a mental thing, isn't it? It's a spiritual thing. We have beautiful examples in our center. Our Miss Beautiful Marjorie is completing her 101 year. I mean, in September, her birthday is coming up. This lady is not old. No, there's some numbers on the calendar. And it's not just Marjorie, but other people. So you want to remember how to practice your and. Yes, I'm getting older. Yes, I have a little in my get along. Yes, I am, maximizing all that I know about staying vital and healthy and in my well-being, because my affirmation is I am health. God is health. God is wholeness. I am health. I love it that health is a variation of the Old English word wholth, W-H-O-L-T-H, which means wholeness. So every time we affirm health, we're affirming wholeness. So I invite us to look at the practice of remembering, staying renewed in our mind about our well-being and our health. And the and. And of course, with our minds, we are affecting our bodies. So we see the results, right? It's our state of mind. What about relationships? Let me just quickly go through relationships. Last week, we were not present here because we were celebrating watching the musical Beauty and the Beast. My son and our daughter-in-love founded 10 years ago a nonprofit children's youth musical theater. They broke all records with Beauty and the Beast. They had 300 children enrolled in the program. That meant that with double casting, usually there were times when there were 200 on stage at the same time. Anybody in here handled more than 3 or 4 children at a time? Uh-huh. And it's like Okay, here come the hordes of the 4- and 5-year-olds all the way across. They're in their cupcakes. I didn't know there were cupcakes in Beauty and the Beast. Well, there are, because they get the children on stage as often as possible. The whole story of Beauty and the Beast is the prince becomes the beast because he forgets who he is. And he is unkind to the old lady that asks for help, which changes everyone in his household into furniture and things. Mrs. Potts, who is the housekeeper, becomes the teapot. I'm a little teapot, short and stout, with her cups. And the major domino becomes the grandfather clock. And, can walk around like that. And the one that was the butler has the luminaries, and he's like, so they're changed. The appearance is that they're not who they are. The French maid was really cute. She was the feather duster. Oh my, was she the feather duster? What changed them to their recognition of their original wholeness? Love. When the heroine, Bella, goes to find her father who has been locked up, and she said, take me, release my father. So her first love expressed to her father, and then when she loves the beast, everyone is back. So that's the end. Is there a beast in our life? Are we being beastful to ourselves? Is it time to love ourselves and recognize who we are? Many stories of abundance. And, we can't close the escrow on your house because of this. But we're packed, we're going out the door. And we know it's all in order. They close. Coming here, we found our house that had been on the market, on and off the market for 2 years. Didn't know how much it would cost. Anne made an offer. And she sold it to us because her maiden name was Blakemore. And we're coming across country, ready to close escrow on a Friday. It's a Thursday, and I called to confirm it. We can't close tomorrow at 1. It's not going to work. Our movers are coming. They're en route. I know that you are a professional and that you close many escrows. Where do these documents have to go? I'm confident that there is a way that you can see that those documents are handled so we can be there. We'll be there at 1 o'clock tomorrow to close our escrow. And I know that you can make it happen. We closed, including limitless possibility. So sometimes we're stuck with a puzzling situation, so there are 3 questions we can ask ourselves. When is the most important time? Who is the most important person to be with? And what is the most important thing to be doing? When is now, including everything that's going on. Who's the most important person? The one you're with. Even if it's with you, the God expression person you're with. What's the most important thing to do? To care, to love, to be that expression of God love. So now you know how to include the ands. My very first minister, my very first teacher, Dr. Peggy Bassett in Huntington Beach, was a beautiful example. She was a workhorse. She was a beautiful, bright lady. She had come up from nothing. She was a high school graduate, and she ran businesses and constructions and beauty. She was awesome. And hardly any of us could keep up with her. She was also tremendously high consciousness and very intuitive. Her goal, to have a closer walk with Spirit. With all of this going on, and a closer walk with Spirit. She was always healthy. She was the eldest of 9 children from Texas. All of her siblings had health problems. She was healthy. She said, I'm healthy as a horse. Until she wasn't. And little things began to happen, and the diagnosis came down. It was Lou Gehrig's disease. And so bit by bit, her physical being was slowed or stopped. First, it was her legs. She couldn't walk as much. She slowed down. She said, and my closer walk with God is not walking. It's being still. And then her hands. She was used to handling everything, all the details. And she said, and I realized I've got to let someone else handle things. And then her speech slowed. She was a quick talker, quick responder. And she said, I understood that to be present with someone and just listen was my gift and their gift. That was her big end. She said, don't pray for my healing. Pray for my understanding, for my being clear. And I saw her 2 weeks before she stepped to the other side. And I thought, how is it going to be to talk with Peggy? Because and she just said, what's the most important thing in your ministry, Clancy? So I invite us to think for yourself, in what way might you use and to include more of the richness of life, embrace the greater potentiality that's in spirit and the possibilities that are appearing for us each and every day. As we're completing, I'm going to ask you to take out the little card that was on your prayer request card and the yellow card today. When we breathe together, it's communing, and communing means to breathe together. Let us say it. The power of and helps me balance my life. I may have challenges, and I put my attention on the wholeness of God. Facts and appearances are inevitable, and God as love, peace, harmony, wisdom, abundance, and joy is always present and available. I am confident that God is within me and all is well. And all is well. And so it is.